How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Just headed out with my music mentor and instructor. We're going to be, what do you call it? We're going to be doing
working on a new song.
Yeah, we're gonna finalize some details with our music video we're making for my parents. It's top secret. Top secret to the parents. When I was 12, I came to Satellite School of the Arts after elementary school, and I just couldn't figure out because my voice was changing. I was going to middle school, so many things were happening around. We tried.
That was awful.
Yes, it was. It's okay though. We are 14 days and counting until a pretty big video is upon us, and we are rehearsing for it right now. How exciting is that, huh? Oh, we made it.
Do you feel like you have that part, the organ part down now?
Certainly how it goes, yeah.
It's 2020. How many years have we been doing this?
Believe it or not, actually, as we record this, it's been a little over 7 now, because June of 2013 was when we really started, actually regularly connecting. I was going into middle school, graduating from elementary at the time. You and I ended up practicing on at least the lyrics anyway, because that helped with Give Me Jesus.
So you were singing like a chipmunk at that time.
Not exactly, but close.
Yeah, you were. You had a super high voice, and your voice was changing.
In the morning when I rise. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the morning when I rise. Yeah. That's the key I ended up in. Oh my goodness. And I can go. I can do probably maybe 5 full steps, 10 halves down.
Yeah.
In the morning when I rise, maybe almost a full octave.
So moving ahead,
yes.
You started, your voice was changing, and then we were working on, new techniques.
Yes.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about the 1-4-2.
You breathe in for 1 second, you hold for 4, and you're out for 2. So it's breathe in, you hold for 4, and then you're out for 2 seconds. And
we talk a lot about how the breath is not just in and out, but it's in and what you're holding onto, and then what you're letting go of. So
yes, exactly.
So done a lot of that.
Yes, we have.
You've also joined us in some veterans hospital concerts.
Yes, I have.
And how were those for you?
Yeah, veterans. Let's see. Well, it was. Do
you remember any of the songs that you performed in the veterans hospital?
I think. Did I do "I Believe in You"? Because that was a.
I think you did.
I might have
and
done
"Lean
that.
on Me."
Yeah. One of your students, actually. Speaking of the veterans, we were all doing a concert as a group, and I remarked, because she was pretty much spot on her notes. I was like, wow, I'm just impressed because if I was to produce if I was literally to produce an album for her, I wouldn't have needed to use pitch correction.
Pitch correction and auto-tune is used so much. She didn't need it. How about your experience? One big one for me was preparing you for the Canadian tenors performing. So tell me what happened, because it was like. Yes. In 2 week time, I remember.
2.5 weeks, really, wasn't it? Yeah.
The whole schedule and song was changed, and you had to learn a whole Italian piece. Remember that?
I had to learn the first verse and and the chorus, yes.
Of which song?
Of Conte Partiro, and speaking of which, Vancouver, I was in Vancouver, and you know, not only just as a whole was it really unforgettable for me, but at the same time, you know, as a big bonus, we had, because my half sister Jocelyn, who's still in the area in Seattle, but she and my grandma, along with my mom, they're both my biological mom's side.
Yeah, so you got to visit with them, and then,
yes, I did.
and then perform
Yep,
with the Canadian tenors, which was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
And you got to do it again, didn't you?
And Bleu, and the other song that I did with them later on, and actually the tenors was quite a surprise in Vancouver because they were not promoting them on social media. I was like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, like, I see hype about me in my mentions. I'm like, oh gosh, because obviously I'm on Twitter. So I look at my mentions. I'm like, oh gosh, what's going on here? So of course I, you know, quote or like the tweet or whatever. It's like, it's crazy. And then but then come to find out, on the day of the event, we cannot post part of the sound check because guess what happened? The tenors are a surprise. No wonder why they weren't promoted. So of course on the first verse, after the first verse and chorus, which I had to learn, was over, you know, and the tenors just
they popped
snuck
on. Yeah.
They snuck into the room. And
and you can find that on YouTube.
Victor McAuliffe,
you can find that
just snuck in and
performance
sang. Yes,
on YouTube.
Victor McAuliffe just snuck in and sang along, and it was quite an interesting night. Yes, it was. Oh yes, and speaking of which, the last song we did, going back to that, was a pretty cool version of "Lean on Me."
That's right. That was the one we did at it was in Derry at the Pinkerton Performance Hall.
And then I think we almost ended the night that way too. In Vancouver. So
let's talk a little bit about It's Been You. I just gave you a simple assignment of what?
Of a couple of just a couple of simple piano chords, and I forget what it was.
We call it a what? A chord
improv.
Chord improv or chord sequence, right?
Yes.
So
a simple sequence of chords that you
and
gave
you began
me.
to sequence this. And what were the chords? How did it go?
What was it? Was it E flat? And then and it turned out to be E flat major 7 and A major.
A flat.
Yes, A flat major. Whoops.
In what inversion?
In second. So it was
So we just kept talking about this, and actually I think I ended up playing it after you played it, and then we started talking about. Well, first, your sister last year, she had recently
got married.
Yes. Moved out of the house.
September 7th.
Right?
Yes.
So
it's crazy.
There's some inspiration that was happening via her having to, if you will, start a new life.
Yes.
You know? What was the other inspiration? You had just turned...
I had just turned 19.
18 last year. This is last year.
Yes, that was...
Yeah, that's right. You become a big 18-year-old. And then after that, you know...
I had finally entered my last year of high school.
And we were thinking about what your life would be beyond high school and things like that.
Right.
So then you started talking about, you know, everyone has people who have helped them in their life, no matter who you are.
Yes.
And so this question, who's going to tuck you in at night, right?
Yeah. Well, you know. Well, I mean. I've done it sort of myself for a while now.
You mean tucking yourself in?
But like think about it though, because all of these really small things that parents do, of course, as you'll see in the video, you'll see that your own wife actually tucked your daughter, was it, into bed. You know, just the really small things that parents do that are, I wouldn't call it taken for granted, but are like just like they just either aren't seen or really are not really thought about. You know,
right. They do so much that we don't even know.
It's crazy.
And you know, of course, I'm thankful to have my mom and dad still around, and they're a part of our life. And I think this song has helped me to remember what they did for me.
Yes.
And in turn, of course, when life is hectic and crazy, especially with what's going on in our world today,
yes, absolutely.
We can actually return that favor almost an honor to them and what they did for us. So
and this isn't just really for parents either, but you have caretakers that may have done this. You could, you right now could probably be, who knows, a group or assistive living home, because I've been to those a couple times. And it's you're on your own to a big extent, but at the same time you get assistance with cooking and things, which is great. And I would actually appreciate that. But
well, Chris, I'm excited because there's new things coming into your world, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Satellite School of the Arts is glad to be a part of your journey.
Yes.
And what would you say? Let's just close here. What would you say to a student who maybe watches you, and they might say, well, "Geez, man, I wish I could do that." What would you tell them to just to begin?
God has given you a gift, and if you can, and why not try, at least give yourself a chance to embrace what you have, because because maybe you might not be a performer, maybe you'll be an IT professional or something similar in that department. You might be a pretty good chef, because if you enjoy doing that, if you want to grow your musical ability, that's better, to the next level. We're pretty much, I wouldn't say on the pianist side we're here for you, but I am happy to help in any way I can. Whether it's because I hope to be.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
Chris has volunteered hours here at Satellite School of the Arts. So
yes, I have.
If you want him to teach you, just let us know.
Yeah.
Kidding, but kind of not kidding, because
yes. I would be happy to teach, especially especially because I've gotten into Logic Pro over the past 5 years, which is what we use here, and it's a very good program. I actually love it. And
so this is also in production. So when you get an idea, you may not I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of performers actually get their ideas from just people who just songwrite and who may not even perform as much. So I think it's important to recognize that everyone's got creative abilities, and you have to craft them like you would if you were a carpenter or anything like that. So Chris, we are delighted to have talked to you today.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your story a a bit behind how you got to even this place, but also
it's crazy, isn't it?
Also the It's Been You music video. So
yes, absolutely.
And so thank you very much.
Yes.